All right, here's the good stuff. Kathy and I were good, but now the good stuff starts.
Now it's really going to get good.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share all of our candidates, and what I would like, I've asked the nominators to give the introduction of their candidates. And so we're going to march down this road alphabetically. Like, quickly change my screen here. So I believe Mr. Bernardo Salcido from Paulding Middle School is going to introduce Monica Anderson.
That is correct, Carl. Thank you. Just wanted to say thank you for everybody being here tonight. It's an honor to have our teachers being nominated in this way. I'm going to jump in and just talk about Monica because it's been fantastic year so far. In the short transition that Monica's been there, she has settled in and expounded on her many roles at Paulding Middle School, not only as activities director, instructional leadership team member, student leadership teacher, history teacher, and school site council member. Her presence has not only been uplifting and enthusiastic, but she's left a mark on her staff already. Even though she's new to Paulding, she's not new to education, and she's wasted no time diving in and providing school spirit, experienced leadership, and student engagement. And I'd like to mention, if you've ever been on a campus before that has that school spirit and pride, you definitely can appreciate the difference it makes in all of the interactions between the students and the staff. And in a digital world that we're dealing with right now, you would think that school spirit would be very difficult to accomplish. But Monica took that on as a challenge and has slowly and dedicatedly built up school spirit. One activity at a time, one Kahoot game at a time, one dress up day at a time, one spirit day at a time, one advisory lesson at a time. And all the while, it's been fantastic to see those students engaging with a smile and loving the activities and events that she has been creating. So not to mention goodie bag on day one coming to our Paulding students, to our Teacher of the Year nominee, Monica Anderson.
All right, and I want to preface, we're going to watch all the videos that we asked all the nominees to make. They had to put together a 3-minute video answering the question, what have they learned from their students during this COVID-19 time? So thanks, Bernardo, and here is Monica Anderson.
What is this for?
Hi, my name is Monica Anderson, and I'm a teacher at Paulding Middle School. I teach 8th grade social studies, 8th grade student leadership, and 7th grade student leadership. And I'm here to tell you about some things I've learned from my students during distance learning. The first thing that I've learned from students is I've really learned to see the positive in a situation. I'm amazed every day at how well my students have done in distance learning. If you would have asked me a year ago if 12 and 13-year-olds could get themselves up for school and be at home and do their assignments, I would have doubted it. But they definitely have taken this on and see the positive. When we talk about looking at things that we control, they talk about the fact that, well, yeah, I'd rather be at school, but it is nice to go to school in my pajamas, or it is nice to be able to be in my own room or to go to the bathroom whenever I want. So they've really taken a negative situation and they've done a really good job at looking at the positive, and so that's helped me realize that I need to do the same thing. Another thing I've learned from my students during distance learning is the importance of connection and how they want to connect with me, how they want to connect with one another, and how that little bit of connection makes a huge difference. And I've seen them reach out to one another. I think the most powerful thing is when they connect with each other in the chat. When someone is having an issue, their Wi-Fi is not working, or they can't get their mic or camera to work, other students will fill in the chat, hey, try this, hey, try that. And so they're really looking for that connection, and they work really hard to connect with one another. And I know that when I connect with them, I definitely see a change in their attitude and their motivation. My students this year have taught me or reminded me how important it is to just stop and have fun. Not everything needs to be serious, and that there's always time to stop and play a game or tell a joke. And it just makes the day go quicker, and that, you know, fun is an important part of learning. And I think our students learn better when they're having fun with their learning. Distance learning has really shown me that our students have this huge capacity to feel empathy for their fellow students. I've been amazed over and over again at the way students respond to what's going on with their friends or with their peers, and how difficult learning is in this situation with them. And instead of making fun, or instead of wanting to move forward, I've had students repeatedly, especially my leadership students, talk about things that they can do to help their peers to be successful in distance learning. And so their ability to care for one another and to understand the situations that their peers are in is just huge. And it's been really gratifying to see that from our middle school students.
Awesome. That was great. Thank you, Monica. Let's all give her a quick round. You can do the round of applause, camp style, right? There we go. All right. Here's where I'm going to fumble for a second. Let me get my, there we go. All right. Our next nominee is Lindsay Ballinger from Lewis Middle School, and Mrs. Erin Haley has nominated her. So I'm going to hand the floor over to Mrs. Haley.
Thank you, Carl. I am here as well as Kurt Payne, who's the principal as well at Lewis Middle School. So he may want to say a few things afterward as well. I just want to clarify, are we reading our letters or just doing kind of a introduction of our candidates?
Way more fun if you just do a good introduction and ad lib it.
Okay. So I am super excited. I'm not at Lewis Middle School anymore. I'm now the director of curriculum and instruction in our district, but I did get the opportunity to work with Lindsay for 4 years. And so I will speak around that. She is a natural leader and just amazing in the classroom, a champion for kids. I always like to reference Lindsay's learning style when I hear that quote from Rita Pearson, where she talks about an adult who never gives up on their children, who understands the connection and insists that our kids be the best that they can possibly be. She's dynamic, she's engaging, collaborative, she brings teams together. She's really a force on the Lewis Middle School campus. She welcomes new teachers and she coaches them in a way which is, like I said, collaborative and team building with not only her English department, but other teachers on campus. So Lindsay is one of those teachers, or I should say Miss Ballinger, she's one of those teachers who she teaches GATE English for 6th grade, which is English and history, but she also teaches 7th grade English, and then she requests to teach ELD. She's an ELD coordinator, she's a department chair, she's a tech lead on campus. She's just really incredibly well-rounded educator, and I'm grateful to know her, and I'm grateful to have worked with her, because she taught me so much as a principal that I believe made me a better leader by watching her and being her colleague. I don't know, Mr. Payne, if you'd like to add anything.
Well, I wrote down a bunch of different notes, and you hit a lot of things. But the one thing I want to say, being new as an administrator to Lewis, Lindsay is that glue for both myself and the staff. As far as Erin mentioned it, she is definitely the go-to. She's a great sounding board in our department cabinet meetings. I always look to Lindsay for advice and thoughts. She's a great thought partner, but a huge advocate for kids, and that has been the greatest thing. So when we had the opportunity to have teachers volunteer to have in-person cohorts at a time, Lindsay was one of 5 teachers on my campus that said, no, I want to be able to meet with kids after instructional time so that I can help support them. And it just speaks volume about what kind of person she really is. She's really, truly a champion for students. Way to go, Lindsay. Go Leopards.
Awesome. Well, let's take a look at Lindsay's video here. Thank you, Kurt. Thanks, Erin, for the wonderful words.
Students logging on from phones in their cars, students logging in from perfectly arranged workstations, students logging on with 2-year-old siblings in their laps, students logging in with fluffy cats on their laps. Every student I teach comes from a different situation. While this is something I've always known as an educator, our time in distance learning has brought this into sharp relief. Nothing in my decades of teaching middle school quite prepared me for this unprecedented time, but nothing in my decade of teaching has quite shaped or challenged me so much. Learning from students is my greatest joy as a teacher. It gives me purpose as an educator and keeps me passionate. I have learned so much from my students in distance learning, but above all, I have learned the importance of empathy. As educators, we must take the time to understand our students and where they come from. All students want to grow and learn and be the best version of themselves, and I have learned that I just have to find where to tap into their interests and circumstances to make that happen. I have seen the grace and compassion my students have given me as I work to master Google Meets, or made errors in my sharing settings, or posted a link to the wrong Google form again. I realize that they have that grace and empathy for me because they have walked in my shoes. I ask them to learn and try new things and make mistakes and recover every day. My students taught me that that is what my teaching practice should look like as well. I should be the learner in chief, seeking out new ways to engage and connect students, trying new activities that might light a spark, asking for student feedback on how they learn best or what they think works. While I have always sought to add new ideas and improve as a teacher, distance learning has made this an imperative. I couldn't rely on ideas that worked in the classroom, and when I did, my students' reactions definitely showed me when I fell flat. They have reminded me that students are the powerful voice in their own learning. When I honored that voice through student choice or more creative assignments or weaving in student interests, their engagement soared. Again, this is something I've intellectually always known and tried to implement as a teacher, but our current situation put this in stark relief for me. When students have the options to turn off their camera or leave the meet, I have to make sure I plan learning experiences that will make them stay. This is something that will stick with me for the rest of my career. During this time in distance learning, my interaction with students has taught me how I need to continue to grow and transform as a teacher, to continue to build relationships with my students, and to find ways to connect learners with their passions. Keeping students and their needs at the center of my teaching practice will always lead me back there. And while this situation has definitely not been ideal, I truly believe that my experiences with my students during this time have taught me how to be a better educator, and for that, I am grateful.
Thanks, Lindsay. That was awesome. Round of applause, please. Way to go. Well, now it's my turn. Our next educator that is nominated is Miss Tiffany Buckman. She is a special ed teacher here at Los Osos Middle School. And I love what she does for our kids. It is absolutely insane. And I will get into that in a minute, but I have to tell a little funny story about ultimately how we decided to grab Tiff as a SPED teacher to add to our staff. Is I was working with a good friend of mine who runs an amazing project called Project Surf Camp. And it's a way to engage kids that have disabilities or any other series of challenges in life, and takes them up to Morro Bay, and they get in the cold water and they all surf. And so as I was looking through all these, looking for a SDC teacher, Tiff's name was in the bucket of applications, and I was looking at it and I saw my friend John Taylor, who's now working, I believe, as the county community school principal or assistant principal. And so I called him and he said, "Oh, all in. I go, "But she's been working with the ED students, not necessarily the mod to severe kids." He goes, all in. What do you want, Bloom?" And I coached John at Cuesta when he was an athlete, very inspirational guy, because he had challenges too. So when he said all in, I knew this was right for Loams, and I've definitely never been wrong. She has a program that gets the most out of kids. She engages them. She runs a community field trip where they go and they contribute to, in Los Osos, there's a rock snake being grown along the bike path. The kids participate in adding to it. They go and they learn road signs and they learn numbers by really hands-on activities. And my favorite story happened just a couple days ago in COVID. So one of her students and one of my all-time favorites is this little gentleman. And when he was in 6th grade, he was quite the challenge. And I know Tiff and I would be like, oh my gosh, how are we going to pull this off over 3 years? And so she always runs a coffee cart for our students, and they go around, they serve the staff members. And I knew that she was achieving amazing goals with this young man when, after I got my coffee, I said, oh my gosh, I forgot to give you some money. And so he said, yeah, a tip. And I said, yes, you're right, you get a tip. And so I pulled out my wallet and I fanned out a $1 bill and a $10 bill. And I said, excuse me, Finn, which one would you like? He goes, the 10. And I was like, yes. And that was just such a great moment. But it's what she does to get the best out of kids. And it's not just Finn, it's all of them. And her heart's in it. She was back here in October, the beginning of October, when we could have these classrooms in place on campus. And it was scary. We were all scared. It was a whole different world in October. She came back, and her team, she's a great team builder. They have stepped up for our kids. So I am pleased to share with you Miss Tiffany Buckman's video.
My name is Tiffany Buckman. And first off, I just need to say how honored I am to be suggested for this. We have so many amazing educators at Los Osos Middle School. I feel very blessed to be a part of this amazing team. I could literally not do this job without the help and support of my amazing and talented paraeducators. Without office staff, supportive administration, my very inclusive and caring educators here on campus, and family involvement. What have I learned through distance learning? So much. My students have always taught me on a daily basis quite a great deal of patience. During distance learning, I've not only learned to expand my patience with myself, but I'm learning what patience looks like on the home front. I've learned so much more about what it means and what it takes to be a parent or a family member of a child with special needs. It's taught me so much more about the imperative communication that needs to happen between school and home for a student to be successful. My students have taught me that creativity is always growing and that there's no end to what they can accomplish if given the right tools. Creating hands-on activities through a computer is challenging, to say the least. I've learned that no matter what the obstacle, there is a way. I see that in my students every day. The students I teach have disabilities that range from moderate to severe. Their differences can seem great when compared to their typically developing peers. Through distance learning and the struggles we have faced as a human race this year, they have shown me so many more ways that my students are just like everyone else. They're flexible, they accept challenges, they have the same need for companionship, communication, and interaction that we all do. They want explanations for what's happening around them, and they appreciate being understood and understanding what's happening. Distance learning has brought me to a new light on family involvement and what good communication and good relationships with families can do for student success. We as educators are experts in our field of knowledge. Families are experts in their children. And together we can help our kids become happy, successful, and productive members of society, no matter what the obstacles. Thank you.
Awesome. Round of applause. Way to go, Tiff. All right. Next, we have Lisa Cordes, and I'll have Bree Bella share out about her. I don't think she made it in, huh? All right, Bree.
I think so. Right. So Lisa Cordes is a teacher support provider. So she works with all of our new hired teachers to provide them the support they need to have a great start of the school year. And so with distance learning, what we all realized very quickly is even the most experienced teachers all of a sudden became brand new teachers. And so Lisa pivoted and has worked diligently to provide supports, not just to our new to Lompoc Unified School District, but to all teachers across the entire district so that they could be their best self for their students. recognizing that when teachers are stressed and when teachers have a lot of anxiety, they can't be their best self for the students, and the students' learning suffers. So she identified obstacles that teachers were having and created looms and Zooms and all kinds of other to help teachers understand how to navigate distance learning with her positivity and her go-getter attitude. So very happy to nominate Lisa Cordes.
Awesome. Thanks, Bree. Here's Lisa.
Hi, my name is Lisa Cordes, and I am here today to answer the prompt, what I have learned from students during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'm going to shift that just a little bit because of my role. So I am an instructional coach. I'm what we call a teacher support provider for TK through high school teachers in the Lompoc Unified School District. So what that means is I'm really there to support the teen pandemic. I think the first area.
Sorry. Oh my gosh.
I wanted to focus on were conversations around equity. I know that we've always had conversations with our teachers and with our students about achievement gaps and what we can do to support and work in that area. But this year it's been a real focus on learning loss mitigation and really about equity. And more teachers are really, being involved in this process and being advocates for their students. And we've been really focused on conversations about pathways to success for each student. So whether that's making sure that those students are getting fed, connection to internet with hotspots, or just engaged in the distance learning instructional model. Another area that I've really learned with teachers and grown in this area is being strategic just about everything. Connecting with students. We've had a real push about how can we get students to not have their screens off and not be muted the whole time? And one way that we've been able to do this through different coaching strategies has been with providing individual feedback to students. When you provide individual feedback to students, they really get connected to the process and they know that the person on the other side of the screen really wants the best for them. So with the new attendance policies and the daily engagement marks and the grading policies, when we provide individual feedback, we can really see a boost in students wanting to participate. Another area that teachers have been really strategic is in instructional strategies. This year, they're following the year in a semester. So when we introduce ideas of planning with tools already out there, like Achieve the Core and using a focus on priority standards, teachers are finding more success in getting the most bang for their buck with their lessons. Another area that teachers have been really strategic is in collaboration. During distance learning, the instructional model teachers are finding the power in their PLCs and really working together. During a recent whole district professional development day, secondary teachers met as departments across both high schools or both middle schools, and they had a focus on guided discussion questions to learn and grow from each other. The science department even had a very productive professional development session where they produced common lesson outlines that will positively impact the quality of instruction for students. And the last area that I wanted to focus on was that teachers have been really strategic in social emotional learning. You'll see, you've always kind of seen it in the elementary setting, but really in the secondary setting through the last couple of months during the pandemic, we've seen an increase in community builders and journal prompts and reflection and office hours and just a real focus on the whole student. So overall, what I have learned from teachers during the COVID-19 pandemic is that they're ready. They're rising to the challenge. They're really focusing on the whole student. Nobody loves this instructional model, but everyone is in it for the kids. And I think that at the end of the day, I'm just so proud to cheer on and provide instructional strategies and just ride the roller coaster side by side with the secondary teachers at Lompoc Unified School District. Thank you.
Awesome. Round of applause. Get those hands up on those screens. That way she can see it. All right. Next up, is Mr. Grant Creighton, and he's at Templeton Middle School. He was nominated by Miss Heather Contreras. So I would like to introduce Heather to talk about Grant.
Thank you, Carl. Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to get to introduce Grant. At Templeton Middle School, there's just a high caliber of teachers, and which is a blessing to everyone. And Grant even stands out from that. And thinking about, what epitomizes a strong educator, an educator that everybody wants to have on campus. We're looking at somebody who has a heart for students, right? Who knows how to teach well, is trying new things, and then also is a collaborator with colleagues and cares about school spirit and is there to serve. And when I think about that, I look to Grant and I think that is it. That is something that that we want new teachers to be in front of, to model the behavior. Grant is someone, he's in the history department. He teaches a digital media arts class, and he's our leadership advisor. During this time of the pandemic, Grant's been coming into work still and bringing leadership kids onto campus. Last week we started our 6th graders, and Grant was there 4 days. It was great. We had 4 first days of school for our 6th graders, and he was there every morning with his leadership kids, walking them through. He's there saying, hey, Heather, we need to do an orientation for the kids who've never been onto campus. He's there working with his PLC members and thinking about how can we, assess, how are we getting our curriculum out? What kind of podcasts can we do? And also thinking about the future of bringing kids back onto campus, which I think for a lot of us is going to be all of our middle schools, hopefully on Monday. And so it is an extreme honor. He is so deserving. And on top of all of that, he's raising 3 boys. And one of the messages that still stands out to Grant when he was being interviewed for our daily announcements was, he was talking about his kids, and he said he wants his boys, above all, he wants his boys to be kind to other people. And if that's not what we want for everyone, to feel and to think and to place their value on, I don't know what is. So Grant, congratulations. Thank you for all that you do. And I'm excited for everyone to see his video.
All right, here we go. Grant, great job.
Hi, my name is Grant Creighton, and I am the nominee from Templeton Middle School for Educator of the Year. I just want to start off by saying thank you to Heather Contreras for the nomination. It is an incredible honor and a blessing to be considered for this. And I really couldn't be considered for this unless I point out my colleagues. I work with a ton of amazing people, and being able to collaborate with all of them really helps me raise my game. And again, to be considered among everyone that I work with is a huge honor. So thank you. So when I was first told the prompt for this video is looking at what students have taught you this year, my initial response, my initial reaction was, wow, it's just gonna be really hard to do. With distance learning all semester, not really getting to know my students as well as I normally do, how am I gonna be able to do this? But the more I thought about it, the more I chewed about it, the more I realized that I really have learned a lot from my students. The first thing I've learned is that it's easy. It's easy to become anonymous. It's easy to turn off the camera, turn off your mic, and just walk away. It's easy when life throws you a curveball like this pandemic to just throw in all your chips and just call it good, give up. That it's easy to come up with excuses. My internet's not working. Camera and mic aren't working. I've got too many things going on at home. I just can't do it. They've also taught me that it's okay. It's okay to ask for help when you need it, to reach out and just say, I can't do this. It's okay to show compassion and flexibility and grace and understanding when we're all experiencing a once in a lifetime pandemic. That it's okay to email your teacher at 11 o'clock at night. Hey, Mr. Creighton, I'm so sorry I couldn't get this into you on time. I had to take care of my younger siblings today. that it's okay to punt your lesson for a little bit and just ask your class, like, hey, how are you guys doing? What can I do for you? How can we be kind to each other, show compassion to each other? How can we show empathy to each other? Right? We're all living through such an incredibly challenging time. I can imagine going through this as a 13 or 14-year-old when life is already hard. And just the amount of compassion that they've shown me has been incredible. Probably the most important thing they've shown me is that it's okay, and being okay is good enough. So all my students this year, I just want to say thank you, because they've taught me more than I've probably taught you.
Thanks, Grant. Awesome. Way to go. Moving on to our next but not last nominee is Maria Garmendia. I believe I got that right. And I'm going to pass it again off to Bree from Lompoc.
So Senora Garmendia is a Spanish teacher at Vandenberg Middle School. And when one of the things that she is most known for is her amazing Cinco de Mayo program that she has the students do. The students learn about a variety of Spanish-speaking countries and then authentic dances from each of those countries. Students recite poetry and they give history lessons as well at the traditional program. However, with obviously the pandemic that happened a year ago today, Mayo was right in the beginnings of us trying to navigate what distance learning would look like. She pivoted very quickly and had all of the students have their costumes where she drove them to each of their houses, delivered their costumes, giant sombreros, beautiful traditional dresses, all delivered to the student's house, even shoes to match. And then they practiced with both dress rehearsal as well as then the live performance, where students then did a choreographed dance through the computer screen. When all together, you could see the entire class doing the traditional dances, poetry recitals, and more that she is known for. So when the saying about the tough, when I forget what it's, I'm losing it now, but when the tough things happen, tough get going, Senora Garmendia is definitely one of those tough people, and she would never think of herself as being tough, just the opposite. But she is one of those people who sees adversity and rises to the challenge to make sure that students get the best experience ever.
Thanks, Bree. All right, Maria, here you go. Here's Maria, everybody.
The events of this year have altered not only how we teach our students and how they learn, but how we adapt in the face of adversity and rise to the challenge. Much of what we do in our classroom is dictated by our students' responses. We get energized by their excited voices or hearing their greeting at the start of each class. That connection, it is something that I immediately felt was missing at the start of distance learning. Finding new ways to make a connection with each individual student has been a challenge. But at the end of the day, my students have taught me through their reactions and the responses that the same reasons why I became a teacher and the sense of duty and service I felt 20 years ago have not left me. This drive has led me to continue trying to find ways to make learning fun and provide my students opportunities to interact, use their voices, and shorten the distance in distance learning. I have learned so much from my students, and I hope that I can continue to find ways to provide them the best possible instruction and support during these times. If I can bring them a smile and impact their day in a positive manner, like they do for me, then I know I have made a difference.
Awesome. Thank you. Nice job. All right. And last but not least, I have Myra Lycia from Judkins Middle School, and I'm going to hand this off to Mr. Ian Penton.
Good evening, everyone. Judkins proudly nominates Myra Lycia for the Educator of the Year. Myra is a difference maker. She teaches ELD. Judkins is the newcomer magnet for Lucia Marr. So all newcomers she deals with. She teaches a Spanish elective. She co-teaches a math class for Spanish speakers. She does so many things. I don't even know how the school would run without her sometimes. And I find her to be an absolute inspiration to me. She's an English language learner herself and has the ultimate street credibility with families. She is so tenacious. And I learned this during the school closure because some of the newcomers are in some pretty bad spots. And she helped to track down a group of students that were living in tents on farmland and found ways for us to get them Chromebooks and hotspots and food and everything that they needed to continue their education. Just an absolute tenacious pursuit. And her example actually forced me or challenged me to get out of my office and go out and work with some of our students in their homes who were struggling. So she's just an unbelievable example. She works with some of our most challenging students all the way to our students who are trying to accelerate through the Spanish elective so they can jump ahead in high school and start in Spanish too. I mean, she just works with everybody, but probably the most striking thing about Myra for me is how humble she is. When I watched her work in the newcomer program, I never really had an appreciation of how difficult her job was. Most of these students did not read or write in any language, whatever language they came to us with. And we were asking her to teach them English, but she first had to teach them to read or write even in their own language. And so she's just so incredibly humble and takes on challenge after challenge. And we are so proud of her. So thank you, Myra, for being part of Judkins' team.
Thank you, Ian. But I do have to give the credit, the tent, about the situation with the tents, credit to Christina. And Christina, I have to mention my aide because I wouldn't be able to function without Christina Olympic. And I know she's on here and she's amazing. And I wouldn't be able to function without her. And so I'm so glad to have her on my team. So thank you, Christina.
Awesome. Thank you. Congratulations. So now we get to this place in our ceremony where one person is going to be named a winner. But
hey, Carl.
Yes.
We didn't see the video.
Oh my God. Sorry.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Mayra Lycia, and I'm a 7th and 8th grade teacher at Judkins Middle School. And what I have learned about my students during this time of distance learning is just when I think about it in order from when this pandemic first started up in March and us going back to school, I think that right off the bat, I started to learn that a lot of parents were losing their jobs or not sure if they were going to be returning to these jobs. And a lot of parents contacted me about, being concerned about this. And so that was very,
my mic was on.
Stressful for me as a teacher because it just worried me as of how am I going to teach this 7th and 8th grade student that is probably, stressed out right along with their parents about, this, uncertainty with their parents' job. And then from there, it actually transitioned on into some of my students testing positive for COVID, or some of my students communicating to me that, they knew someone that had tested positive for COVID and were, worried for their health and trying to maintain distance from certain family members. And so that was also shocking when, I first started to learn that some of the first people that were testing positive were some of my own students. that was very, worrisome for me because I'm their teacher and I care about them. And so that was stressing me out for sure. I also learned that a lot of my students, a lot of them are newcomer students and ELD students, so English learners. And these are some of the students that already struggle with school. They're at the, have the biggest disadvantage as a student. And I had to learn that they were the experts at home because they're 7th and 8th graders. So they're the ones helping their younger brothers and sisters at home. And so, I mean, I can't even imagine, the stress that they have on their shoulders trying to help their younger brothers and sisters, with their work when they need so much help themselves. And so I think, just long story short, I've just learned that when you're in the classroom, you think students have all of these needs. And during this time of distance learning, I've just learned more about the personal needs that students have at home, which just vary so greatly. And so I think the biggest thing for me is just try to be there to support them and be their number one cheerleader, be that shoulder that they can cry on. I mean, none of them actually cried, but just to hear them out and know that somebody cares about them and that this familiar face is still there for them. I think that was the biggest thing that I learned, that I had to try to do more for them. And yeah, I think there's a lot more, but just to try to keep it short, I think that that's probably the number one thing, is that they just need to know that somebody's there for them, that you're their biggest cheerleader, that you still believe in them, and that you're hopeful and that you're positive, and that, that you continue to let them know and remind them that this will come to an end and that things will go back to normal eventually. And so that's what I've learned during this time of distance learning. Thank you.
That was great. Thank you very much. Sorry, I jumped the gun there. So now we get to this place, and like I was saying, there's no losers here, and there's 7 amazing educators that we got to celebrate with tonight. I know we didn't get a dinner. I guarantee you a dinner next year. You can hold me to that. Superintendents are going to pay for it since they're in the room. Might as well leverage that a little. So I want to announce our winner tonight. And again, this was amazing because we had seven people, and all the nominators used force ranking, and the spread between everybody was literally 8 points. Because this is so hard to name a winner. But our region, Region 12, will be sending a winner to the virtual ceremony that's up in virtually in Sacramento, but not really. And so I want to put a, let me see if I can do this well. I'm going to put a flyer. I'm going to mail you a flyer. I'm not going to do it tonight, but Kathy will want me to share the flyer for the virtual thing. I encourage you all to go. These are amazing virtual conferences. They're amazing. They're even more amazing in person. And I would honestly tell you that doing the Schools to Watch program and being a part of the California League of Middle Schools is a transformational thing for our site. It's actually guiding our district towards creating a middle school mindset. Like I was talking earlier about putting together a vision that is uniquely separate from high school for middle school kids. And our staff understands kids and the Schools to Watch rubric and the League of Middle Schools. All of the values line up to what's happening at my school and all your schools. I know it. And it's an amazing process. So without any further ado, I would like to announce that drum roll. I didn't have a drum roll pulled up on my screen. Congratulations to Miss Monica Anderson from Paulding Middle School. Congratulations, you are the 2021 Region 12 Educator of the Year. Now, Monica, you have to give a live speech.
Excuse me?
That's part of the deal.
Oh, wow. This is kind of like the day I had to record the 3-minute speech that I didn't know about. So
that's not my fault.
Thank you. Very, very honored to be back. I mean, to be back at the middle school after 15 years of high school is really enjoyable. I'm excited. We get kids on Monday, so I'm excited to have that face-to-face with kids as well. But I just think it's so important, Carl, kind of what you said, that middle school mindset. Middle school is very different than high school, and we really need to focus on that. So thank you very much. Don't know that I'm any more deserving than any of the other people that were nominated. I think they're all great educators, and this is an honor. So thank you very much. Thank you, Bernardo, for nominating me and what you've seen in me. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Monica, and thanks to all of you. Again, this doesn't happen without participation, and it was definitely a challenge to add another Zoom thing to everybody's plate and ask them to make videos about themselves. But you know, these nights are important for us as educators, I believe. And so again, thanks to everybody. You're all going to be getting a really cool certificate and an award and a gift card coming to you. So hats off, and keep doing the wonderful work that you do. And we will see you all for dinner next year.
So much. Woo!
Yeah, you can unmute now.
Congratulations, Monica.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Way to go. I don't see Kev. Where's he? Is he hiding in the background? There. Awesome. Congratulations.
Great. We'll see you on April 28th.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Awesome. Take care, everybody. Good night.
All right. Have a
Yes,
good night,
Carl.
everyone.
Good
Thank
night.
you, Carl.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Girl, I thought you were going to talk about Star Wars.
Oh.
I thought that's why I got hired, was because of Star Wars connection.
Well, that too.
All right.
Good night.
Bye.
Hi.
What's up, you clowns? How's it going?
Congratulations. Nice job, babe.
Yep, it went all right, huh?
It did. You did great.
Yeah.
All right. Lock it up. Come on home.
Yeah, I did.
All right. We'll see you guys. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for sharing it with me, babe.
Of course. All right. See you guys.
See you soon.